Hello! Welcome to Paul Makes Games. My name is Paul and I want to get better at making games, and to improve you want to look back at what you've done and learn from it. And that is what I'm going to be doing today with the game I made last week, week 4, which was Bulldogs. Bulldogs was my attempt at creating a game based on a physical game which you might have played at school called Bulldogs, or at least you might have played if you were in England. I know, once again, originality with the names, but I thought that was appropriate. As the player, your goal is to get to the other side of the field, but there are other players, their goal is to stop you by tackling you, and they're called Bulldogs. You'll have other people running with you, and as people get tagged, next round they will then be Bulldogs. So the further you progress, the more difficult the gameplay gets, because there's more Bulldogs and less people to distract them. Overall, I was happy with how the game turned out, but there were a few things that I think I could have done better. The experience I wanted for the game was similar to how I feel when I play sports games like FIFA or NHL or NFL or Rocket League. That hit of excitement where you pull off an awesome set of moves to score or get around your opponent. That is what I wanted in Bulldog. I think in part I achieved that. There were definitely times when I was playing the game and I felt that feeling, and I think the platform is there to make those situations happen more, but I don't think it completely clicked how I wanted it to. A few positive things I have to talk about from feedback that I got. First off, people liked the art for the runners. I think they thought the art looked good and the animations was good for the type of game you want. People said it was reminiscent of what you might see in Grand Theft Auto 1, which I didn't use for inspiration, but it's good all the same. Secondly, another good point was that they liked the level customization that you can do at the start of the match, which means you can change how many players there are, change how big the field is, and I'm really happy with this because it was something I added in really late in the development and it kind of took up a chunk of time, but I think it added that replayability to the game and kind of gave you a bit more of a chance to experiment with the mechanics of the game. And I'm kind of happy with that because I think that was the only replayability the game really had. Which leads me on to probably the biggest thing I think I could have improved from the game, and that is that there was no real sense of progression. I noticed this a lot when people played the game. They would play a round or two and get past the players, and then they would lose interest. I think this is an issue with the overall design of the game. I concentrated a lot on the short-term gameplay. That was the experience I wanted to achieve, but there was no work on the longer gameplay design. There was no reason for people to keep playing once they'd learned how to dodge players and get to the end of the field. Going back to the sports game analogy, you really enjoy that sense of achievement when you pull off a really good move and get around your opponent to score. But you're only really doing that to win the game, which in turn you're only really doing so you can increase your rank or your stats or brag to your mates about how you beat them, which Bulldog doesn't have. I think this is a key learning point for me, and it's also one of the things that I am struggling with the most with the Gamer Week concept. To make a good game, you want to be thinking of multiple layers of gameplay. You want good short-term goals to keep the player entertained and engaged, while also wanting a good long-term goal that gives the player a reason to keep playing. With Bulldogs, there was a goal of learning how to get round players, but once you've learnt that, then what? It is difficult to balance this with the limited amount of time you have. It took most of the week to get the short-term goal to be interesting, which meant that I had no time to implement any type of long-term goal. So far, I think the best example of me doing this well is Orbiter, where you had this short-term goal of learning how to take over planets with this longer-term goal of winning all the levels. That being said, I am definitely having a hard time with this in all my games, mostly because the ideas I want to make have a lot of scope, and due to my experience, everything takes a lot of time. The simple answer, and I'm using quotes, would be to lower the scope. But this isn't as simple as it sounds, because bar making a very basic game like noughts and crosses or Pong, all games concepts have hidden complexities, and you sometimes don't know what will be fun until you've played it, which can be an issue when you don't have that much time to create a prototype and test it out in the first place. In summary, Bulldogs was a success. I achieved what I wanted with the gameplay mechanics, and I think it could be improved by adding long-term goals to make it more fun and give players more of a reason to play the game. With that, I am going to get back to game 5, which I've taken a bit of a different direction by going for more like a visual theme first with designing the game, which you can see on Twitter if you are interested. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.